Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Well, I want to put the hinges on the AC Gardener's Toolbox, and pretty soon I'm not going to be calling it AC Gardener's Toolbox anymore. It's going to be Old Sneelock's Toolbox. But for right now, we'll stay with the original name. I have to mount the hinges onto the back, and to do that, I'm going to make a change in the way I did it. Instead of using the wood screws like it was before, I'm going to use bolts and T-nuts. I'll show you how I did it. One of the challenges that this toolbox faced was the screws for the hinges. The screws extended inside the box. The screws extended inside the box just like these upper ones. Now, I can't do this operation that I'm doing here because the screws extend into this solid plate, so I can't switch over to the other bolts. But on the bottom, I'm going to change to using machine screws and these T-nuts. The T-nuts sink into the face of the board until this washer surface hits, and these teeth keep the T-nut from spinning. So I'll be able to take these flathead bolts and go through the back side of the toolbox and engage the T-nut and hold the hinges on. That way I won't get these chewed in spots on the side of the tills. But to make that happen, I need through holes back here. So using the hinge as a template, I just drill on through. It's fairly easy because the screw holes over the years have eroded. Something I found, the head of this screw is bigger than the countersink in the hinge. So I'm going to take this countersink and bore that out a little bit. And to do that, I'm going to use this breast drill. It's got enough leverage that running this reamer is a piece of cake. No, that's going to drop right in there. Now to set the nuts in place, rather than trying to drive them in with a screwdriver, it's easier just to drive them home with a hammer. That way you don't run the risk of stripping out the threads. There. Countersink the hinge. Run the bolt through like I did on these two on each side. Set the nuts and we're all good. But no need to watch all that. We'll do that tomorrow. No need to watch all that. We'll just jump right on to the end and we'll show you the finished product. One thing that I've heard in the past, and I think people are just not thinking when they say it, but I've heard it before. The longer the handle, the greater the leverage. So if you want to drive big screws, you want to have the handle out as far as you can get it, so that the longer shank gives you more leverage. Well, that only works if you're prying. You know, the distance from the fulcrum to the end of the leverage bar is hopefully longer than the distance between the handle and the fulcrum. Shorter handle, this handle moves less distance in compared to that one, as opposed to having this. So if this travels 4 times as far to get this to move, you have 4 times the leverage. But if you're turning it, the only way you can get more leverage, make a bigger handle, or put a wrench on it and extend the diameter of the leverage point. So don't get trapped in that thinking that the longer handled screwdrivers have more leverage. They don't. They're nice when you got to reach way down inside an engine compartment and work on the starter, because especially one that's hidden in behind the exhaust manifold like my old Sonoma was. But it doesn't make the screwdriver tighten the screws any easier. It just makes it so that you can reach down where they are, or up, in whichever case it is. Now, even though I've driven the T-nuts down flush with the surface of the wood, so the T-nuts won't catch on the tills, but the bolts stick out about 1/8 of an inch. These boards are hand planed and they're not exactly the same thickness all the way through. So I've got some that stick out just a little bit more on the bottom edge, and the top edge is a little bit thicker so they don't stick out as much. So what I'm going to do is I'll take the power sander and maybe a file, probably the power sander, and grind those down so that they're flush with the head of that T-nut. That way I won't have the problem with the slots being cut into the tills like they were. Getting close. I got to put the metal bands on, but before I do that I want to put the canvas on. But I think before I put the canvas on, before I get all that finish work done, I'm going to mount the latch and get the key made. At least get the latch mounted. So that's enough for tonight. We'll come back and work on it some more tomorrow. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching. This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.